And so my dad and I were working. So we're the only ones that don't have a house there, or don't have family there or friends. So we're like, well, I don't want a day off.
Wait, your dad went with you?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
I'm telling my parents about I'm like, yo, like you get paid this much. After 40 hours, you get time and a half. After 80 hours, you get double time. Like every day after 8 hours.
He said, I'm coming.
And, no, my mom was like, hey, you're going. You're going. She was like, hey, Mr. Mom, you don't have any kids at home.
Yourself.
Get your ass out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Just went hog hunting. The first black man ever hog hunting, right? So we went hog hunting, what, a month ago? Not.
No, but it's been a while. It's been a couple months. Yeah, it's been a couple months.
2 months ago, first time ever. Like I didn't. They gave me a gun and they were like, "Hey, look."
But hey, the day before he leaves, he goes,
Are you on the ground or in the air?
No, we're on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were in like side by sides.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, what do I need? I was like, well, I mean, you got boots, you got any like pants? He goes, nah, man. So I literally like bought an outfit at Bass Pro and go pick it up.
You need some snake boots, and I was like, "Fuck, snake boots for
Yeah,
fucking what?"
yo, we're going after hogs.
Do this, yeah.
So I get down there, man, and they're giving me like I've never really shot. Last time I shot a gun, we were at our retreat.
Yeah, our retreat,
right?
company retreat, yeah.
But I didn't know anything. I still don't know how to handle a gun. So they gave me the gun. First thing he says is, "Don't point it down."
Yeah.
Like, point it down. I'm like, I'm pointing it down. He says, "Don't shoot your foot."
Yeah.
Take your finger. He gave me the whole foot.
Yeah.
And I'm
Index finger out.
Like, and this is like in seconds. Like, hey man, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, and then I get educated on hogs. Well, they will charge you. They got these tusks.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, nah, see.
You're like, yo, do I even want to be doing this?
Exactly. Someone's gonna get shot. Because I'm like Ice Cube, dude.
He turned it sideways.
It's a rifle, Darren. You're not supposed to turn it sideways.
But the best time, man.
Yeah.
It was so quiet.
Yeah.
It was peaceful, man. I didn't get anything. I shot a coyote. That's the only thing I shot. But I tell you what, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
And record it. But it was the best time.
so fun.
It's wild, right?
It
It's
is,
great.
man.
So my very first, again, coming from California, I didn't know anything about hunting, and I was playing for the Browns at the time. So this was 2010 during the lockout when we didn't have the off season. So Colt McCoy, who was a quarterback then, set up a workout for the offensive guys, running backs, and receivers down in Austin. And so that was my first time ever in Texas from California. And so we go down there, and I get to the hotel, and Peyton Hillis. Remember Peyton Hillis? He was a running back for the Browns. He was on Madden cover in like 2011. Yeah, thick, like went to Arkansas. So he comes down and he's in like this super nice like Denali, right? But it is filthy, like filthy. And he gets out and he's covered in blood head to toe. And I'm like, what are you doing? And like, we're in like right off of 6th Street, right on the river at like the Intercontinental Hotel, right? I'm like, what? And like, Peyton, what are you doing? He goes, oh man, I just finished a hog hunt. And I was like, what? Like here? He goes, no, in Arkansas. I was like, bro, you drove from Arkansas, soaked in pig blood? He goes, yeah. I had to run down because one of my dogs got bored or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, so we knife hunt. We don't shoot hogs. We knife hunt. Our dogs run them up, and then we come up behind them, pick up their back legs, and we gut them right there. Jeez. I was like, bro, you didn't have 10 minutes to shower before you drove all the way here?
Not only that, but why the fuck? Like, I don't want to get that damn close.
I don't know, man.
Like, what is the reason?
So I have
slippery slope.
I have a very close friend that her favorite pastime is hog hunting with a knife. And it's like they send out a Jack Russell and it will like find the hog, and then it's like some like pit bull breeds that like lock onto it.
Yep. And they're in like Kevlar vests.
Yeah. And then just come up, and she was explaining it to me.
Dude.
Like, wow.
You know what?
That's a whole new level.
It's intense. That's intense.
That's like, there's got to be, to stab somebody or stab something.
Yeah, to feel that.
Like, there's got to be some sadistic about that.
Remember though, like hogs though.
Yeah, but when you're that close.
But remember hogs, right? Like they're overinfested, like they're causing billions and billions of damage.
Yeah, shoot them. I get that part of it.
So that's where
there's a different mentality.
The ranch we were just at, it's a hunting ranch. Like they sell hunts.
Yeah.
And the guy that took me out the first morning, he was like, the feeders go off at 7. All the deer are in the field at like 6:58.
Yeah, waiting.
Like they are there waiting. That's their breakfast.
Yeah.
And like we're sitting in this blind, and I was just kind of, it's like,
There's
right.
no sport to this.
I was like, I don't feel like this isn't hunting. This isn't what I have in my head as hunting.
Yeah.
I'm telling the guy I'm with, like, this isn't what I pictured. Like, I'm wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm not even wearing camouflage. There was no stealth. Like, we drove up in a side by side. We're talking full volume, cup of coffee. I'm like,
cooking it, bacon and eggs in the blind.
Like, no effort went into this on my part. And so like when he was telling me, he's like, oh, just shoot one of them. I'm like, I don't really want to do that, you know?
Yeah.
That night we went out and we were doing like spot and stock.
Yes.
So it was like we got dropped off in the middle of the field and we just had to start walking till we saw a herd, and then like kind of like 2 people went out to the right, 2 people went to the left, like try to flank. Like that was more what I had in my head for hunting.
Yeah.
And so like I got an axis deer and I was like, I feel good about this.
Yeah.
Like
That's awesome.
we're going to make some great food.
I was gonna say
you
good
know.
meat, and
We got the skull and rack mounted, like made the pelt into a rug. Like we're using as much of it as we can, but kind of just sitting in the blind, just like kind of take your pick type thing. I was like, it's not really.
And it's a menu, and that's how a lot of these ranches do it in Texas and Oklahoma. It's literally like there's a menu, and you'll have like a guide with you, and he'd be like, all right, that's 10 grand, that's 12 grand, that's this. It's literally a menu.
That was my first experience with it. So same friend had another buddy that had a high fence ranch, and he brought us out because he's like, I'm overpopulated with female axis. Yeah. We need to kill some.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting this blind, which is basically just an apartment in the air. We're talking at full volume. We're in our regular clothes. Side by side is parked right underneath us.
Rec TV.
And
I was saying, got mad.
we're showing each other YouTube videos on our
Doesn't
phones.
sound so bad to me.
And we're sitting right in front of the feeder. Yeah. And it was like an African safari of all these different animals. And we're texting the owner like, yo, how much is a ram? And he's like, 4 grand. How much is this? 8 grand. I was like,
damn.
this is weird.
Yeah.
Most expensive thing on the property, like out of all these exotic animals, most expensive thing is a whitetail buck.
Yeah.
Because he was like, and he told it was like 8 grand minimum for the whitetails. Yeah. And we're like, how? They're native here. They're everywhere. And he was like, because some people want to come out, shoot a whitetail, and then lie to all their buddies about like make up a story of where they got it. They want to get it mounted.
Well, and the management, right? The deer management, it's huge business here because like if you're breeding whitetail and you've got like the perfect specimen and you clear out all the bad ones, right? All the bad bucks that have like messed up antlers or aren't big enough, like you got to kill them out because you only want the best bucks breeding with a doe so that they only have the best. So it's a whole business. And so to your point, right? The whitetail is you can have this monster like 10-point, buck. And they could say, oh, yeah, I went up to Oklahoma and got this, or I just went out on public land and shot this, because they don't know, right? Like they don't know you went to this, you shot a buck in a cage, essentially what it is. So
that's something, man.
Yeah, man.
I'd like to hear more about like how you went about the pig hunt in a helicopter.
Yeah.
But wait, first of all, we're sitting here talking to Matt Fraser.
Man, this is just getting lost already.
How many
We're
times?
so organized here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm already crushing over here.
Yeah.
Is it 5-time CrossFit champ?
Yeah.
Matt Fraser.
Come on, you knew that.
5-time. I knew that.
Hey,
I just
how
wanted
many
to make
how many do you got?
I thought he not enough. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. I thought I was going to give you another one, but the 5-time CrossFit champ Matt Fraser, and we're here on the Darren Woodson Show, and we're talking about hunting.
Yeah.
We need to be into the story of Matt and his journey. But
That's how it typically goes. But
that's how it typically goes, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because my final question is, and then we'll get going here, is the hog hunt in the helicopter.
Yeah.
What did that look like?
I mean, it was pretty casual. Like, so I was with some buddies that own Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I
so like
drink it every day.
anytime I'm in Texas, I link up with them. I'll usually stay at Matt's house. And so like I hit him up like a couple of weeks ago. And I was just like, yo, I'm coming to town. He's like, cool, send me the dates. And I sent him. And he's like, we're going hog hunting while you're here. Like, do you want a seat? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like I knew nothing, no details. And so it was friend of his had a 30,000 acre ranch, and they were like overrun with hogs. They were like destroying stuff.
Right.
And so they just rented a helicopter for the day. And so I think there was probably like 10 or 12 of us that like took turns going up, and they take 2 up at a time, and shockingly casual of just like, there was no harness or anything. It's
No, I was
just
gonna
like,
say, hold the hell.
a regular like car seatbelt that you put on, but then you need to like turn 90 degrees to the left. So there's 2 shooters out the left side of the helicopter, and then you got to like lean out. So you're just kind of,
And there's no one holding you at all. You're just a
Oh my
seatbelt.
God.
and like the pilot like he gives us a very quick briefing, and he's like, all right, be very careful with your barrel.
Don't
Like,
shoot me.
He was like, if you shoot the ski, 12 grand. If you shoot the floor, 20 grand. If you shoot the rotor, 70 grand, and we'll probably die. And I was like,
Lord.
okay, cool.
Safety on until I'm absolutely totally
Yeah.
ready.
I'm not shooting today. I'm just riding.
He's just kind of flying, and like the 2 passengers are just kind of looking for movement. And then you're like, hogs, 4 o'clock. And he just like whips it around. And
See, that's what I feel like you get dumped out, right?
like, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But like, I'm in the plane. Like all the guys I'm there with Black Rifle are like these badass war veterans.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, just don't act like a bitch. Don't act like a bitch. Don't cry.
Be a pussy. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a pussy.
If I die, I die. Jeez.
Well, Matt, man, first of all, thank you. I know you're in the middle of a road trip, and we'll get into a little bit of that right now. Kind of your downtime, which is we talked about, is very uncommon. We get that with our football background. You have a small window where you can like go do you for a little
anything,
bit. But you came up. Thank you so much. This is you're actually our first in-guest person in a long time. So
There we
man,
go.
appreciate you coming up. But man, here on the Darren Woodson Show, a lot of what we do really is revolving around the journey, right? And how people came to be what they are, and to be an encouragement to those that maybe are struggling through something, that look at someone like yourself, right? The fittest person on planet Earth.
No dispute either.
Yeah, there's no dispute. But look at you and say, oh, he's natural. He's just got the talent, right? It just happens. He just showed up one day and he did it. And like, don't understand all of the things that go into that, right? The struggles, the times that like, you weren't sure what the next step was, or, hey, am I going to make it? Is this going to be a career? I mean, there's so many things that people don't know about your journey and all the work. So our hope is that your journey is an encouragement to those that are at a time where they're just not sure, do I keep pushing? Do I keep pushing? Do I keep fighting? And then also, man, we just want to have a good time. That's our biggest thing, man. We want to have a good time, and learn more about you, and then invite you back for another hog hunt.
Oh yeah.
But start, man, take us back. Born and raised in Vermont. From there, talk us through your background. And I know your parents had a unique profession and career early on. But
Yeah. So born in Ontario, moved to Vermont super young. So like I was raised in Vermont, Vermont my whole life. Very typical household. The one thing that was not typical was my mom worked and I had a stay-at-home dad. So he always joked with like Mr. Mom, But so for me growing up, that was just normal. It's like the whole gender role thing wasn't a thing for me. I was like, my mom was the breadwinner. My dad was the one that cooked, cleaned, drove us to sports practice, all that stuff. But my dad was, he is a very unique guy. Like he'll find his niche, and then he was super athletic growing up. So both my parents were freestyle figure skaters, and so they were pairs in the '76 Olympics.
no way.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Like, you got probably not the typical
Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they were 4-time world champions.
Oh my gosh.
In freestyle pairs figure skating. So super athletic parents. But never really pushed us into sports or anything. It was just we had to do something after school. So like my brother went the art and music route. I went the sports route. But started doing Olympic weightlifting when I was 12. So kind of like its own little niche sport. It's not super popular, but I just happened to grow up in the town over from one of the best technicians in the country. And, he coached for free every day after school and then Saturday mornings. And
How'd you find him?
Yeah.
it was, you know, I was doing weight training for football. Like they want to start bringing the middle schoolers over to the high school and getting us like in the weight room. And a buddy and I just one day decided like, you know, let's see how much weight we can take from the ground to overhead. You know, like we didn't know, like, do we stop at the shoulders or like, how do we do this? And so it was just god awful technique. And I mean, we're in like 6th grade, like we're young. I mean,
I was going to say, man, like that age, like I know for us and, you know, I was football wrestling. And so it was, you know, strength was a part of it, but it was like go home and do push-ups. Like weight rooms were off limits.
I was allergic to the weight room in 6th grade for sure.
yeah. And like our weight room, it was like, there was basically like a chaperone to make sure we didn't like kill ourselves.
Yeah.
But it was bench press and curls.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The squat rack never got used.
No.
There
We
were-
only use that for the pull-up bar on top.
like there were no bumper plates, no cardio machines. It was just like bench and curls. Like that's what you did.
Yeah.
Maybe hit triceps, you know? And so, yeah, my buddy and I are just seeing how much weight we can put over our head. And then one of the coaches lived in the next town over that like, and so his kids went through the school system. So he knew this guy, Chris Polakowski, that taught Olympic weightlifting after school. And so I think it was like when my dad came in to pick me up, you know, this coach kind of grabbed my dad and was like, hey, like your kid seems to be interested in weightlifting. Take him to this guy in the next town over and he'll teach him the proper technique for it. So we literally got in the truck and like drove to the next town over, found this dude and just kind of hit the ground running from there.
Dang.
But yeah, did Olympic weightlifting for 10 years. You know, after high school, got scouted to go to the Olympic Training Center, lived there for 2 years. It was at the end of my stint in Colorado Springs at the training center. I broke my L5 in 2 spots. So got a couple bolts, couple plates.
No nerve damage, nothing?
No, nothing. So, I mean, it was pretty wild. You know, every surgeon I went to was like, you need fusion. That was the only answer. And then I met a surgeon from California that was like, I got this experimental surgery I can try on you. He's like, I give it a 50-50 shot.
Sounds good to me.
And he was like, I've done the surgery on a 13-year-old and it was a guaranteed fix, and a like 24-year-old and it was a guaranteed failure. Like just from bone growth, being young. And he's like, you know, you're 18. I give you 50-50. And I was like, fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, just
Because that still allows mobility, right? Like in this,
basically what he was doing, so when I broke the vertebrae, it healed but not back together. So the bones just kind of calloused over themselves. And so what he basically did was go in and re-break it, and then the hardware in there was basically just a cast, so it didn't shift.
Yeah.
And so like the plates are just there holding the bones in place until it heals on its own. And then he said, you know, if the hardware gives you trouble down the road, we can go back in and take it out. But if it doesn't bug you, like, let's avoid that invasive surgery.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. I'll give it a shot, you know? Like, what is there to lose? I'm already in excruciating pain. I already can't compete in the sport that I love. So fuck it, let's try it.
Did you think at any point that it was over for you as far as?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the 2 breaks actually came on 2 separate occasions, about a week apart from each other. And it was like 2 weeks before I was flying to, where was it? Romania for the Junior World Championship. So this is like, for an under 20-year-old lifter, this is like the pinnacle of like, this is.
But Romania, they don't have very many strong people over there, do they?
They got a few. They got a few.
They're always when you name an exercise after your country.
They're picking up.
It's true.
That's a good signal.
Yeah. So, you know, like, I remember the first side that like let go, you know, I was doing a clean pull, big pop, and then it felt like, it was like, have you ever seen those heat packs that like, it's a regular gel pack and then you snap the cap in and it just like, expands and hardens.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like my back was.
No way.
There was this big crack and then it just radiated out and just everything locked up. And so like, I basically just laid in bed for like 2 or 3 days, ate my body weight in like ibuprofen. And then it's too late to call like the next person in line for the team.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck it. I still got to train. So like went back into the gym, and it was like heavy back squat day. And so I loaded the heavy, first time I ever wear a belt. So I like cinch up the belt to try to give some stability, because I know something's wrong. Right?
Yeah.
And then I hit the bottom of the squat, and just like there's the exact same pop, but on the left side. And same thing, same feeling. You know, I just get in bed, can't walk for a couple days. And so like I definitely thought, I was like, something broke.
Yeah.
Right.
And like my career is over. And then every surgeon I talk to, they're like, oh, you're never, like, your weightlifting career is done. Like, but you're never working out again. Like I was told by like the most you'll do is a light jog for the rest of your life. Get used to it.
Yeah.
And I just heard those answers, and I was like, no, like that's not an option.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't know me.
exactly. That was a big thing too, was like, I know who you're used to talking to, but that's not what I'm going to do. So I need to find an option that's going to allow me to return to what I want and love to do. And so that surgeon in California, you know, he worked with a bunch of professional athletes, and he was like, give you a 50-50 chance. And I was like, it's good enough for me. Let's go. So I got the surgery. Then I moved to Michigan. They have the Olympic Education Center, so they require you to go to school while you're training.
Yeah.
And then made a full comeback in weightlifting, but it was like a year from the surgery till my first competition was a year.
That's fast. Sounds like.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was in a full torso brace prior to surgery for
Fiberglass torso brace.
Yeah, like from basically from like nipples to hip.
Yeah.
Like, what's the thing? Like a corset?
Yeah. My little brother had one of those. Yeah.
Miserable.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fucking 4 months of my life, and it was middle of summer, so you're just sweating under
Yeah.
this plastic thing, and like my lats hung over it, so it just pinched.
Yeah.
Every time you sat in a chair, it would just pinch a little bit, and it just drives you to insanity. But yeah, made a full recovery, but like just kind of got burnt out. You know, I was training off resentment of like so many people telling me like, oh, you know, he's broken goods, he's washed up, he'll never come back. And so I was just training off resentment for like a full year.
So what that looked like the first time you got back in and started doing the exercises in which you hurt your back?
I mean, so it was probably 4 months of nothing. Like just like I remember my roommate would have to kind of pick me up out of bed. You know, like I'd be laying down and I couldn't sit up. So he would have to like hug me, prop me up in my bed. And, you know, I would shuffle to class. I couldn't have a backpack on. So I would just like fold like 4 pieces of paper in my pocket and just like shuffle to class. But like super slow back into it. You know, I would go in and do air squats, and that would be my workout. You know, just doing like pinch work, you know, grip work. But then like I remember going back in and like back squatting 50 kilos and it being heavy. Like I'm coming from like, I was competing at 170 pounds and, you know, back squatting like getting up to close to 500 and like loading up 50 kilos and just like, I'm like, fuck, this is it. That's all I got.
Yeah. This is my first warm up set. Yeah.
Like, I think it was like, I went a while where it's like every week I would add 5 kilos. But like I did weeks of clean and jerk with an empty bar, you know, just, I was like, okay, you know, I can't progress on the weight side of things. I'll progress on the technique side of things. I can't, it's like, you know, adding more weight isn't even an option. So don't even concern myself with that. I'm going to make sure that when I can start doing that, my technique is so good.
Right.
And just every day, you know, like.
But you know how many people, I mean, including self, I mean, how many times that, you know, that I've seen or been around people that when you can't do it, you just say, just fold. I mean, you couldn't actually get back under the weight, but you were working on the little small things, the techniques or whatnot.
That's so foreign to me.
Yeah.
It's so foreign to me of like, just like the first roadblock. And I thought that was normal my whole life. And like the people I'm surrounded by, it's like when they get told no, or, you know, something gets in the way, it's like, all right, well, how do I get around that? How do I get over that? How do I adapt, you know? But yeah, I think the general population, it's like, oh, they told me I wasn't allowed to do that, so I'm not going to. And then,
Okay, so you talked about like, okay, I'm not going to just take no for an answer, you know, to doctors, to recovery, all those aspects, right? But what was that 4 months like in Michigan when you were not able to work out and you were not, because That I think speaks, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but the correlation to this COVID deal, right? Like people locked at home, you know, their purpose has been taken away and all these things. Like for you, what was that? I mean, was there depression that you dealt with? Was there, or was it only like, hey, my only goal is to get back and get healthy?
No, it was definitely a type of situation that I wish I had my perspective now and I could go back on. But I have the perspective now because I went through that.
Yeah.
And like, I dealt with like severe depression, you know, like not only was I in a place that, you know, it's not highly sought after, you know, you're in Marquette, Michigan. Nobody wants to be there 11 months out of the year.
Right.
You know, I went from the Olympic Training Center to the Olympic Education Center. I like went the reverse way in the funnel.
Yeah.
Like I had moved away from the girlfriend I was dating at the time. I didn't really know anyone. Everyone I'm around, I'm still showing up to weightlifting practice. I'm watching all my friends, competitors get better, working hard, all this stuff. I'm living in a shitty dorm room. It was just everything. Like really, really depressed. It was not a good place for me.
Yeah.
But I just had that goal that trumped everything. You know, I was willing to be that miserable because I was like, this is where I need to be to get to my goal. But yeah, I wish I had the perspective now, looking back on it. You know, I wish I had that way of looking at like, okay, I can't lift heavy. Good. I'm going to work on my technique. You know, at the time, that wasn't why I was doing it. It was just like,
That's all I can.
I was so bored. Like if I wasn't in the weight room or in the classroom, I was just sitting in this like cell block of a dorm room. So it was just my way of getting out of the dorm room basically. But yeah.
Was there anybody that like, you know, you'd look back and say, man, if it wasn't for that person pouring into me or supporting me or helping me through, like it would have looked a lot different?
Yeah. I mean, there's a list, and you know, a lot of the people for different reasons. You know, I had one buddy, and he actually went to the same surgeon. He had mine was a broken bone. He had like a ruptured disc, and so he got surgery in the exact same area, like a month after I did, and we lived in the same dorm rooms. But he just had a very mature like outlook on life in terms of like, you know, someone would say something to him sideways and he would just be like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whereas like me, like I'm younger, I'm full of piss and vinegar, got like this ego that's just bigger than life itself. And you know, I saw the way he conducted himself and like, not sound corny, but like the inner peace that he had of just like, he was happy with who he was and what he was doing. So yeah, always watching him. The coach I had at the time, you know, he was like a second father to a lot of people on the team. So, you know, like if he saw that one of his students was just upset or going through a breakup or bad grades, like it wasn't just like, hey, get your shit together. Yeah. It was like he would call him over to his house and be like, all right, we're going to have a sit down and actually figure out this problem. Yeah. Like, what do you need to do? What can I do to help? What, like, you know, so yeah, people like that. Of course, my parents, you know, incredibly loving, caring. You know, my dad, I saw the soft side of him first time when like he dropped me off in Colorado. Like we drove out there together, and you know, it was the first time that I saw him be like, you're my baby. Yeah. You know, like, and I'm like dropping you off at college for the first time, you know? So that was, staying in close touch with them. My mom, who's a doctor, so, you know, she's asking me the medical questions of like, all right, how's this, how's that, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, it's one of those times where you learn early on, like, it's pretty hard to accomplish much without a good support group around you.
Yeah, you mentioned identity a second ago, and as you're sitting here talking, my story is somewhat similar in that the last game of my career ended with a knee injury. And so, you know, tore an ACL, and with an ACL, that's a year-long, you know, rehab. And you're sitting there 2-3 weeks after surgery, and you can't even walk. Yeah. And you're just thinking, okay, everything I've ever done in my life, everything I've ever worked for is as far away as I could possibly imagine right now. It's not even on my radar right now. And so that identity hit for me, and it sounds like it was a little bit for you.
Oh, totally.
Is just a huge blow in that everything I ever thought about wanting to do, I can't do it anymore. I can't even walk.
Yeah.
So where do I go from here?
Yeah, I think I had more that like identity crisis when I finished weightlifting, because like even when I hurt my back, I was still at a training center, you know, so I'm going down to sports med, I'm getting worked on every day. Like I'm going to different consults, all this stuff. So the goal was always still to get back to weightlifting. It may take me a long time and it may be a really shitty road, but that's,
but you still saw yourself as a weightlifter.
That's still the end goal. It was, you know, after I came back from the surgery, I came back, I hit PRs, hit a really big milestone for the total. And I remember like, I was just like, all right, I'm done. You know, I rode this bus until the wheels fell off. I don't have a love for the sport anymore. I can't bring myself in to train 2 times a day off resentment anymore. I'm done. So as I moved away from Michigan, moved back to Vermont, and that's when it hit me. Because now I'm 23 years old, I think. I was 23 years old. Everyone knew me as the kid that's going to the Olympics. That's off the table now. I dicked around in college for 4 years. So I came home with like a semester or 2 semesters worth of credits. So I'm basically starting college. I had to move back in with my parents into my old childhood bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm watching everyone else I went to high school with, all my friends getting married, graduating college, having kids, getting a house. And I'm sitting here like basically feeling like broken goods and then living in my fucking child bedroom.
Sleeping in my bedroom.
Just like,
Dude, you couldn't have been any further away from what you thought you were going to be.
Exactly. And it was just like everything I worked towards just flushed down the drain. And now I'm starting to go to school at UVM, and it was like, I'm clearly older than everyone here. Everyone's like living away from home for the first time. So they're all drinking, partying, doing all that shit. And I'm just like, I have no interest in any of that. And so I just stuck out like a sore thumb because I didn't have the same interest. I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was clearly older than everyone there. And that's when it hit me of like, once again, slide into like another depression of just like, the fuck did I do with my life? And where do I go from here?
Well, it feels like wasted time, right? Since you were
100%.
12, you'd put all this effort into that one goal, and where did all the time go?
I think still, like, if I had the perspective now, I would have valued the friendships, the relationships, all the stuff I had.
So true.
From that time, I would have, you know, a lot of the best stories come from shitty times. You know, you find that silver lining, and you find like, oh man, we were so miserable doing this or that. You know, at the time, I didn't see any of that. It was just like I just wasted so many years of my life.
That's why this is so cool, because knowing where you are now, but hearing that doesn't even make sense. That's your part of your real story. That's amazing.
So when you finished weightlifting, and kind of the three of us felt this way about football when we walked away, was there a period where you're like, screw weights, man, I don't want to train, I don't want to do anything, I don't want anything to do with it? Because I went through it when I retired. It was I don't want to watch football, I don't want to talk football, I don't want anything to do with anything.
And it fucking sucks because you're known as the football guy.
That's right.
Everyone you know, every person in your life is
constantly bringing it up.
How's training going? Did you catch the game? You know, and it's like, damn it. So like if I'm doing anything, it's not in moderation. I jump in with both feet, and when I stop anything, I stop it. So like I've made amends to a lot of the people, but like when I finished weightlifting, it was like I saw all my friends that were like having success in the sport. I had a resentment against them of like, you're having success and I'm not. And it brought me just like a lot of like pain, I guess. Probably just jealousy. But to cope with that, I just like cut them out. And it wasn't like I didn't cut them out. I just like I stopped responding to texts. I just wanted to separate myself completely. And so when the day I left Michigan, I moved out to Alberta and I worked in the oil fields for 4 months.
Good money.
It was real fucking good money.
I lived in Edmonton.
Oh, really?
I played in Canada. Yeah.
And it was just like you're earning triple the wage that you could on the East Coast. Miserable work. Minimum 12-hour days. Like like we're getting up to like 18-hour days most days.
Yeah.
And you work 7 days a week, no days off unless it rained.
Yeah.
And of course, the summer that I'm there, it didn't rain for like 84 days.
Hey, you know what's crappy is where he's talking about. It stays light until like 1 a.m. So you can work.
Sun is out
So you
there.
can work, yeah.
Oh, you're
wow.
out there.
Like, so
when he
you-
says 18-hour days, you got 18 hours of sunlight.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like, and we were working gigs like on like chemical plants, where like what we were spraying on the ground, if it was too hot, it would just evaporate. So we had to be out. We had to be at work at like 3:30 in the morning, and then you just work 14, 16 hours straight, and so yeah, making money hand over fist. You're consumed with this job, with this life of just being miserable. You're dealing with terrible bosses, everything. But it kept your mind off weightlifting.
Yeah.
But that's the experience. Like, I mean, I'm listening to your story, man, and you have to you're going through a process at this age where you're reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you've lost the identity of what you were in the past is gone now. Now I have to reinvent myself. And now, like you just said, you went through misery. Now you're going right back through the misery of you're making some money, but here's the experiences.
Yeah,
you're gaining
right.
the experiences at the
And
same
that
time.
was exactly it. Was like, at the time I didn't realize the good that was going to come from it, of just like completely removing myself. And by being around nobody that I knew, I was in a town where I didn't have any family. I didn't know anyone. No one knew me as the weightlifter.
Right.
No one knew me as the kid that broke his back or whatever it was. So I was just able to be a roughneck.
Right.
I was just able to put on a full set of coveralls and a hard hat and drive this truck and log hours, But going from training twice a day, every day for the last 10 years to sitting in a fucking rig for 14 hours a day, it's rough.
Right.
Like, I'm not having the daily satisfaction of, achieving something.
Right.
I'm not getting that like daily dose of the happies that come from fucking working out.
Yeah.
And then on top of it all, I'm losing weight and getting fat at the same time. My body composition was just this like complete 180.
Not ideal.
I'm like, how am I getting lighter and fatter? Like, how does this happen?
So did you know, like, you're sitting in the rig, did you know this was going to be short-lived? I mean, in your mind, did you
that was
know,
my-
like, this is not.
So that job specifically, like I was the lowest guy on the totem pole. Every camp we went to, every job site we went to, I was the bitch.
Right.
So I knew like that job was short lived. And then basically working for the guys that I worked for, they were just like, there's no other way to say it. They were just terrible human beings. Like just,
Degenerates, yeah.
yeah, like just assholes. They took out if their wife was pissed at you or if their wife was pissed at them, they're going to take it out on you. Like those type guys.
Right.
And so, but I love the atmosphere of that work environment. I love I don't want to work an 8-hour day. If I'm working, I want to fucking work.
Yeah.
So give me that 16-hour shift. And like a lot of them do shift work. So like I heard up at the camps, they'll do 28 days on, 28 days off. And I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you do with the 2-day weekend? I was like, dude, I'll work a month straight.
Yeah.
Like you work 14 days, and then you work 14 nights, and then you get to go home for a month. That's sick. But then talking to a lot of people out there, they're like, if you don't drink or drug, you have a clean driving record and you have a college degree, they're like, you can write your own paycheck.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, perfect. I have a clean driving record. I don't drink or drug. I was like, give me a couple years. I'm going to go get this college degree and then I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Because so like my plan after that summer was like, I'm coming back to the oil fields, either oil fields or a offshore rig.
Yeah.
And that was very appealing to me. Obviously the money is the big thing. I was single at the time, didn't have any kids. And they're like, if you have nothing attaching you to being away for a month, they're like, this is where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and up there, man, and you mentioned the drinking or drug problem. That's a big, big issue.
Didn't you
Big
say that y'all
issue.
used to drink before football games? You used to take a shot of whiskey right
That was
before
only when it was 20 below or colder.
Every day.
Yeah, so every game.
No, it was actually it was only one game. It was only one
Most games.
Yeah. So from September on, yeah. But yeah, no, up there, yeah, that's crazy because what province were you? You were in Alberta. What town was it?
So like we had an apartment in Red Deer
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I was south of.
No, not Red Deer. Rocky Mountain House.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's like an hour away from Red Deer.
Okay.
But then like we would get shipped up to like Fort McMurray and shit.
Yeah.
Because at the company we were at, it's all just local kids or people that live in town. And so my dad and I were working. So we're the only ones that don't have a house there, or don't have family there or friends. So we're like, well, I don't want a day off.
Wait, your dad went with you?
Yeah.
Oh, no
like,
way.
I'm telling my parents about like, I'm like, yo, like you get paid this much. After 40 hours, you get time and a half. After 80 hours, you get double time. Like every day after 8 hours.
He said, I'm coming.
And, no, my mom was like, hey, you're going. She was like, hey, Mr. Mom, you don't have any kids.
Break yourself.
Get your ass out of here.
Get the fuck out.
We need a new kitchen, all right? So you get your ass out there. All right. So you work the summer, then you go back to school to get to work for your degree.
Yeah.
What happens in between?
You know, I started going to school and just like the typical, like I lived at home because we lived like 5-10 minutes from the university. So it's like, well, what's the point of getting a dorm room? And I got free tuition. I got tuition remission at the college because my mom worked there. And so of course, like you get free tuition until you graduate with a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, what's better than one degree? Two
bachelor's.
So I did a full mechanical engineering degree, except for one class, and then went back and did a whole business degree, and then graduated at the same time.
Dang. Got him.
So you're the smartest person at this table.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Family studies is not the same as
I was gonna say, I learned how to put a PowerPoint presentation together. Is that good?
Taping ankles. Yeah.
And he went to Arizona State, so
Yeah,
we know the result of that.
We got a party. I got my party degree. It's all good. So how did
You probably had the best time at college.
Hell yeah, I did. All of us. Yes, I did.
Yeah, combined. Yeah,
sure.
So let's. I want to get. I'm listening as I'm listening to the story. Every time there's been an obstacle, there's a dog in you.
Yeah.
There's like
yeah.
some.
Yeah.
What is it, man? Where does that come from? And is that your dad or your mom's side?
So probably the like the motivation off resentment comes from my dad. My dad loves to get a good like fuck you.
Right.
Like you told me I couldn't do it, I'm gonna find a way.
Right.
The sitting down and doing like the grunt work, that's definitely from my mom.
She's a doer.
You know,
grinder,
she was number one in her class. She went to a private all-girls school from kindergarten to grade 13. And the school's policy was if you were the number one student in the school or in your grade, you got free tuition the next year. Her parents never paid tuition for her.
And then she's just self-started.
And then went through university, valedictorian, like number one in everything she touched. She had 13 years of school, 13 years of post-secondary school, off the charts.
all while
smart.
being a world champion skater.
And skating
Jeez.
professionally while doing it.
Darren, what have you done with your life, man?
Nothing, man. Nothing. But listen, man. We have these conversations on the show all the time on being a self-starter. How are you motivated?
Yeah.
What's your trigger or whatnot?
Yeah.
And most people don't have them. They don't have, you have to act to be precise on what trigger. I'm curious because of what you've accomplished, but you look at your bloodline. And it starts with your bloodline, like your mom, what your mom's gone through, what your dad, how your dad's overcome things. At the same time.
It's funny though, I never saw my parents skate. The day they started having kids, it was like, all right, that was that chapter of our life. I knew something about that my parents are figure skaters, but I was the kid, we had an unfinished basement that was just boxes and storage, and it was just kind of dingy. And I'm down there I'm young, I'm looking for treasure.
Right. Right.
And then one day I fucking found it. I run upstairs and this 3-foot tall, big golden goblet cup. And I'm like, Dad, I found treasure. What is this?
Right.
And he's like, oh, you found some of our old trophies. And they had these big fucking trophies from the world championships.
Right.
And
in the basement.
once my mom started practicing as a doctor, they had kids, all that stuff. Those trophies just got tossed in the basement. They couldn't bring themselves to throw them out, but they're like, well, that was our old life. We're not going to put them on display. We're not going to try to relive that. So I always had that mentality too of like, all right, the day you're done with something, you know, family's number one. You know, as soon as you start having family, like, yeah, your sports career was cool, but like your kids are what's important.
Yeah. That sport or your profession, or that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Your family is who you are.
It's tough to keep it separate because every conversation you have is about that sport.
Yeah.
Usually as soon as your eyes open, that's what you're thinking about when you're in it. So like the day you're done, it's like, well, fuck, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like my life has been consumed by this singular thing for so long.
So and that's kind of a good transition because, you know, where you are today, right? Like talk about like someone pigeonholing you as what you do is who you are, right? Like you are the most famous in your sport. That's like saying, you know, Troy Aikman is, you know, as a football, I'm just kidding. That was a shot at you.
Not Darren Woodson.
Not Darren Woodson. But you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's got to be a challenge now. And I want to back up in how you got to CrossFit, how you found the sport. But man, like, I can't imagine you having to be able to separate that. Like, okay, look, CrossFit versus, you know, who I am as a person. That's two totally different things.
Yeah.
But how did you get to CrossFit? I want to get there.
Yeah, so, you know, once I started going to UVM, there was just a void. You know, I had so much free time. I'm getting fat. I'm like I'm fixing my feelings with food. And so it was like, I realized like, all right, I either need to clean my diet or start working out again. And I was like, I love what I'm eating, so I'll just start working out. And there was a gym in town that when I'd be home on Christmas break, when I was still weightlifting, I would go into this CrossFit gym because like finding an Olympic weightlifting gym in a town, like you can't name one.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to find a CrossFit gym, like I bet we can throw a stone from here and find one. And they have all the equipment. So went into this CrossFit gym, like when I'd be home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever, and I would just use their weights. And then I was living back in town, and I'm at a red light, and the dude that owns the gym pulled up next to me, and he kind of like leaned out of his car, like saw it was me. He's like, "Hey, Matt, like you back in town for long?" I say, "Yeah, like I live here now." He's like, "Oh, cool. We just moved. We got a big new space. I'd love for you to come check it out." I was like, "Cool, yeah, I'll swing by." And like I had never gone back into that CrossFit gym because I only used it for weightlifting. So I'm done weightlifting. Why would I go back in? So I literally went in to like see the new gym that he built and like just catch up with him. And he had said like, you know, if you want to bring in your weight set, you can just put it in the back corner, come in whenever you want, do weightlifting. And so I started doing that just to kind of get back in shape. You know, Olympic weightlifting was all I knew in a weight room. I didn't know how to do anything else. So that's just kind of what I fell into when I want to start working out again. And then it was the owner's girlfriend at the time, now wife. You know, she's picking my brain on how she can become a better weightlifter. And, you know, she's kind of asking me like, "Hey, do you think you can do a muscle up?" I'm like, I don't know. What's a muscle up? She would hop up and do one. So I'd hop up, do one. She's like, "Oh, can you walk on your hands?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing that my whole life. You know, just walk, get up, kick up, and kind of do that." And it was like almost like she was having a fun game of trying to find something that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, it was kind of like a fun game of like, go ahead, try.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Like, and if I can't do it right now, like go away for 5 minutes. let me work on this without someone laughing at me, and I'll figure it out. And then like, you know, a workout would come up, like now I know what it is, like Grace, you know, 30 clean and jerks for time. And she'd be like, "Oh, Matt, like you'd be really good at this. It's only Olympic weightlifting."
Yeah, but I do 3 at a time.
I do 3, maybe.
Exactly. And so like I would just kind of get tricked into it, but like the times I was putting up were half decent. Yeah. And you know, so it went from like she would kind of trick me into doing 1 workout a week, and then 2, and then 3, and then before I knew it, I was kind of showing up on a half regular basis. And then kind of what really sold me on it was that gym. So Jay Jenny, the owner, was hosting a competition, and he's like, I want you to sign up for it. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm in. And then I saw it was like a $50 or $75 entry fee. And I was like,
I'm out.
I was like, bro, I'm all for it, but I don't have $50.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll sign you up for the competition, but you need to promise me if you win any money, you need to buy a pair of CrossFit shoes. Because I'm working out in like Air Max 90s at the time. Like I'm literally taking out like 4 or 5 back squats.
Some air mono.
And you got
And I got the bubble.
Yeah.
Just like I can feel like the
bubble
weight
popping.
shifting. Like I'm wearing my dad's, like all my workout clothes are like starter, like what my dad got from Walmart type thing. And so anyways, he signed me up. I won the competition and like I got $500 cash. And I was like,
wait, you can make money doing
I
this?
was like, yo, I fucking made it. Yeah. Right? I got $500. Like,
We're doing this?
yeah, I'm like, yo, we're going to Wendy's. You don't have to stick to the dollar menu. I got a full tank of gas. Like,
No, let me ask you this though. So the competition, when they walked in, when you walked in on the first day, I know you sized everybody up.
I mean, it was like it was an in-house competition.
Okay.
So I knew a lot of the people, but I mean, like, I looked borderline homeless at the time.
Right.
Like, just like this shaggy afro, like patchy beard, like, and I'm borrowing my buddy's shoes. Like, he would be in heat 1.
Right.
And then I'd be like, yo, like, let me get those lifters real quick. And then I would put on his shoes and do the event. So, you know, like everyone, like the typical CrossFitter from like 2011, 2012, like they got the knee-high socks, the minimalist shoes, the board shorts.
Yep.
And then usually like a pink or purple bandana.
I would say some sort of bandana headband,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
And I'm showing up. I'm in like whatever was on the clearance rack in Walmart for shorts.
Hey, a football equivalent is the kid that shows up with the bar down the middle.
And he kicks your ass. You're like, what the fuck? Yo,
Take out your hip pads.
fix that dress code was.
Where'd you even get a tailbone pad, man?
Oh my God. I'm curious to know, like, so you said you knew some of the people that you're going to compete against, right?
Yeah.
Was his, like, you walked in, did you think, I'm going to murder these folks? Like, these, I know these folks.
I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
At that point,
you took, Matt, I honestly believe you took advantage of those folks. And got that $500.
no, so like
You knew exactly what you were doing.
Hey, what's a clean?
yeah,
I have no idea.
playing stupid.
Burpee? What? I don't even know.
I mean, I just ate. Maybe I could burp. I don't know.
So like at that time, like I was still good at weightlifting. I was still like really, really strong. I think the reason I was able to kind of like slip through the cracks because I was only like 170 pounds and I could hoist up some good weight. Right. But like my cardio was like non-existent.
Right.
My lungs, like I smoked most of my life growing up. Like, and so it was coming into a
peyote
sport
or
where,
weed?
No, like cigarettes. Do you smoke peyote? I thought you ate it.
That's what West Coast do, man. Don't let him do that to you, man. He knows all the strains.
He smoked real cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I remember, like I got a gift certificate for Lululemon. Like they were like, I think it was like a $50 or $100 gift certificate. And so at the time, I'm like, yo, Lulu, like that's not in my budget, but I'll show up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stock up.
And so like I'm picking out like I'm trying to get 2 pairs of shorts, like the cheapest shorts I have. I'm like, all right, if I get the cheapest ones, I get 2 pairs. And I remember getting up to the counter and showing them the gift certificate, and they were like, oh, we've been waiting on you. No, like don't worry about the $100. You go in, just get a full outfit. So socks, underwear, shorts, shirt. I'm like going through. I'm like, now I'm just only looking at price tags.
Yeah.
Like, where's the most expensive shit? And I remember coming home, my dad just being like, man, you got a full outfit for free. And like you got $500, like kid, you made it.
Yeah.
And so I remember like immediately after that competition going to Danny, Jade's girlfriend, and I was like, yo, are there competitions like this often? And she was like, oh, every weekend. Like here's the website that you go to.
You're so innocent.
Where all the competitions are listed.
All you were looking at was money.
And, dude, if the prize money wasn't listed, I would call the gym, be like, hey, you got prize money next weekend? And they'd be like, yeah, $1,000. I'm like, cool. All right. But still,
MATT.
but even still, like they're like $50 or $100 to sign up, and I was like, man, that's a lot of money. So, like, Mom,
Better win.
can you sign me up for this competition?
Tell you what, 7% return guaranteed.
So my mom got smart with me and was like, fine, I'll sign you up, but if you win, you pay me back double. I was like,
Oh, nice.
all right, cool. Like, my ROI is still through the roof. I'm putting up nothing. But yeah, just started kind of hitting competitions every weekend, and then it became the thing of like nobody knew my name. I hadn't competed at any sanctioned competitions, like where there's publicity or cameras or anything. So I'm starting to show up at these competitions where there are some games athletes, where there are some regional athletes. And I'm excited because I'm showing up in this hoopty of a car.
Right.
I got on like I brought like a 3-pack of Hanes t-shirts still in the bag.
Yeah.
Like I'm the only person that doesn't have logos or anything. Right. And I'm like, I'm gonna fuck y'all up. Like, man, this is gonna be good. And you know, like just the moments, like I remember there was one competition where like you had like 10 minutes to do an 8-rep back squat max. Like whatever your highest weight was your lift. And there's like 2 or 3 big guys that like can do over 405. And so the guy running the competition at the athlete briefing or like right before the heat started was like, hey, raise your hand if you need a 4th plate or like 4 plates on each side. We'll get you those. And like these 2 giant like guys who are like 240 pounds, like, yep. And then my 170 pound ass was like, yep. Yep. And he was like, no, this is for 4 plates, not 3. And I was like, oh, I'm aware.
Oh, man.
And, you know, it's just those moments of like, no one knows who I am yet. Right. No one has any expectations. So if I fail, nothing lost.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm that nobody coming in and just, I'm just driving around trying to collect cash.
Wow. So how was that first little circuit that you went on? I mean, did you win every competition you went to?
Yeah, I won everything. And,
you know, humbly, he went over that. I wanted to go back. I want to go back on it. Okay, so the driver initially like, okay, I can make some money, but
so it was just pocket money at first. And you know, and there's the thrill of like finding out you're good at something and then getting to perform.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that level of competition again. I mean,
it's like some of these competitions would release workouts a couple of weeks ahead of time. And you practice them in the gym, you know, kind of figure out your pacing. And I would, from the gym, like a 10-minute workout, I'm guaranteed to shave off 2 minutes when I show up in competition. Yeah. And it hurts less in competition. Like I'm trying my hardest in the gym. But it was just like you have the audience, you know, it's your chance to kind of show off and that adrenaline's going. You feel good about what you're doing. Yeah. So the initial starter was pocket money. I was a broke college student. I was going to school full time. But like I couldn't, if friends were going to a movie, I couldn't go. If friends were going to dinner, if I wanted to ask a girl out, like I need to find a free date, you know, like, yeah, let's go for a walk. Cool. Like that type of shit. So, you know, just the fact that I got to fill up my car with gas and I always thought I knew after college, I was like, I'm going to have to get a desk job. I need to get a 9-to-5. And so I'm trying to just hoard as much money as I can right now so that, you know, the day I graduate college, I can buy a car. I don't have to keep driving this 88 Oldsmobile that starts half the time.
You're right. You had a hoopty.
Yeah. It was a real hoopty. Yeah. So I thought like, if I can just get money while I can, I'll start a leg up, you know, whether it's a down payment on a house or I have a nicer car that's reliable or whatever it is. But I was like, I'm going to get that 9-to-5. I want to start with one leg up. Yeah. But then it started kind of becoming the thrill of, you know, performing in front of other people. Every day was like problem solving. I would finish a competition and look at, all right, what event did I do poorly in? Well, why did I do poorly? Was it the time domain? Was it the movements? If it was a movement, like, all right, do I not have the technique? Do I not have the know-how? Is it a weak muscle group? You know, breaking it down into finding out what am I bad at, and then being like, all right, I got 2 months until my next competition. Breaking that weakness down into a daily protocol of what can I do today to get myself to where I want to be in 2 months or a year.
That's that engineering degree.
Well,
But also, that's having a plan.
Yeah.
We just talked about this the other day. It was like, okay, yeah, you had a goal. Let's say, okay, now I need to improve, my snatches, right? Maybe that movement just wasn't good for me in the competition, but it's like, it's not, hey, I'm going to be better on the next competition. It's like, here's how, right?
Yeah.
Day by day, right? Here are those measurable increases that I'm trying to achieve along the way.
So
to
I mean,
get there.
like fast forward, like looking at my games performances, and like once I started competing in the games, I gave very little fucks about any other competitions. Like the games was the prize.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at my next competition. The next competition I care about is a year away. Yeah. And so every day was like, what can I do today that's going to put me where I want to be in a year?
364 days from now.
It's that like, and that, I mean, that's tough to like project out that far. But, stuff as simple as swimming. All right. Swimming was notoriously one of my worst finishes. Why was it my worst? Am I like, is it my arms don't have the endurance? Is it my hips don't have the endurance? Do I not have the technique? Am I doing the wrong training? I can have perfect
dense in a lead weight and water.
It's that I'm 5'6", 5'6", 200 pounds.
Yeah.
But a big part of it too was my technique. I like, and so I sought out like, all right, well, how do I get better at technique? Well, I'll find someone that knows. And because why would I have all the answers? And so I start seeking out professionals in their craft. And very rarely is someone amazing at what they do and they don't love talking about it.
right.
They don't love helping someone out, especially if they're not that person's competition.
Yeah.
So like one year my deadlift was my worst finish. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to find someone who's amazing at deadlifting and have them help me. So like I got linked up with Chad Wesley Bray. Like this dude is like, he has multiple world records. This man is throwing around 405. He's doing demo videos for me with 405, and he's talking to the camera as he's doing it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm an endurance coach. I've worked with other coaches from the CrossFit space, working with mental coaches, everything. I'm like, why would I have the answers? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Right.
So seek out someone that does, and start picking their
And
brain.
you went from all the money to winning because you needed some cash in your pocket.
Yeah.
Your mom being your mom being the man investor, and you had to make that back to falling in love. Like you actually fell in love with the sport.
It was like the falling in love with the daily gratification, that daily achievement of hitting that little check mark of like, yo, did you fucking crush today? I'm like, yeah, you goddamn right I did.
Right.
And it's just like the process of like, finding a problem, putting together a plan, and then executing on that plan. It's just that breaking it down into those tiny, tiny steps.